Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out over at packerfan.com forward. Actually, let's redo that here real quick. I'm still trying to get used to this. Patreon.com / Packerfan Total Access. You can also find us on Twitter at Packers_access, and everywhere in between. We're live on YouTube, Rumble, X, every platform basically. You can also find this in podcast form wherever you get your podcast. Just search Packer Fan Total Access. Had the screen completely go down on me there, so obviously off to a strong start here. As we got a little bit of breaking news. Brian Gutekunst met with the media in multiple facets. He was at the podium at the Combine just now. He also met with some other media members locally with Green Bay. It looks like maybe in a hotel lobby, a hotel room, something like that. And I'm sure those guys are going to have some awesome articles coming out at some point here in the near future. And really the breaking news we're talking about is he gives an update on Josh Jacobs. Okay. You know, there's kind of rumors swirling that Josh Jacobs might be a cap casualty, much like Aaron Jones was. We'll kind of revisit that a little bit. We'll talk about what Gutey said in terms of Josh Jacobs. We'll talk about offensive line philosophy. He mentioned that a little bit about what they did and the mindset behind going to Aaron Banks, going to Anthony Belton and whatnot. Also, a little bit of a Rich Bisaccia drama here, too. There was something that was mentioned with Rich Bisaccia that kind of perked everybody's ears up like, that's a really strange comment. Some people thought Rich Bisaccia was going to retire. Other people thought he's going to go pursue another opportunity. Gave a little bit of clarity there, Gutey did. And then he gave a slight update on Micah Parsons rehab as well. So we'll dive into all that and more. Before we get into it, if you would, do that YouTube stuff for me. Hit like, hit subscribe, click the bell icon. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your afternoon. We are not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We're fans just like you, talking Packers on a daily basis. So if you're looking for that kind of content, make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon as well. See, so Turtle's in here. Good to see you, buddy. We got United Bates in the house as well. Going to be a quick little episode. Let's get you guys up to date with what Gutey said. Now, Baz, our buddy over there at Basarski Productions, you guys, awesome YouTube channel over there. Make sure you're subscribed. Puts out great content, great work. One of my favorite YouTube channels on the entire internet. Basically, what Baz said was eerily similar to what he said about Aaron Jones. And Baz actually pulled the clip that I had tweeted out when Aaron Jones, right before Aaron Jones was cut loose by the Packers, right? Rob Demovsky is the tweet that Baz mentions here. And Rob tweeted out, more from Gutekunst at the Combine. He said running back Josh Jacobs will, quote, absolutely be back this coming season. And you hear that and you think as a Packer fan, awesome. All right, we can finally put that to bed, right? There's no way that Josh Jacobs won't be a Green Bay Packer. But immediately everybody goes back to what he said about Aaron Jones, right? He went on to say, quote, he is a very important cog in what we're trying to do here. So you think, okay, we're in the clear, right? Here's the clip that Baz pulled up that I had tweeted out around the time that Aaron Jones was cut loose. And tell me if you get a, as Baz said here, eerily similar to what he said about Aaron Jones. This is what Gutey said when he was asked about Aaron Jones and whether or not he would be returning to the Packers before obviously playing the same running back position as Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs will go on to replace Aaron Jones shortly after these comments were made. Here's what Gutey said.
Back next season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'd love to have Aaron back. We're still kind of putting all those things together as far as how we're going to move forward. But, I mean, he was such a difference maker when he was out there this year. The way our offense was able to move, the way he he changed a lot of the way we operated when he was in there and when he was healthy. I think for us is finding a way to keep him out there and keep him healthy. But he was, not only on the field, but just – and you guys know this, you guys that have been around here. I mean, he's such an influential leader in our locker room, and he's just really kind of the heartbeat of our team. So we're certainly that's kind of the anticipation is that he'll be back.
All right, so obviously that's the anticipation. He's the heart and soul of our team. He was a huge difference maker, both on and off the field. All those things mentioned. Again, Gutey now having said about Josh Jacobs today, he will absolutely be back this coming season. He's a very important cog in what we're trying to do here. So only time will tell whether or not our boy Josh Jacobs will return as a Green Bay Packer here in 2026. We'll keep our finger on the pulse there. Moving on to offensive line talk. Tyler Brook asked a great series of questions. You guys go check out Tyler Brook over on X at Tyler D. Brook. That way you can hear the question in its entirety. I just pulled kind of a clip or a quote out of this. Brian Gutekunst was asked about signing Aaron Banks, kind of talking about the direction they were moving with their offensive line last offseason. Here's what he said, quote, "We wanted to get bigger and be able to move people in the run game." Well, obviously, as I said in the tweet, the run game, we would all agree, took a huge step back after adding Banks and Belton, who both settled in at left and right guard. So it's safe to say, okay, it didn't work year one. Will it work year two? We're holding out hope, right? And hopefully it does get better. But as Tyler Brooks said, here's some good stuff from Packers GM Brian Gutekunst about getting bigger on the offensive line. He also went on to say, and I actually left that tweet out, but he talked about being more physical. He said, you want to get bigger and you want to be able to move better, right? Essentially, I'm kind of paraphrasing, talking about the athleticism. Well, that's what we've talked about with Gutey. Sometimes we think that he maybe gets a little too much caught up on the athleticism, the RAS or whatever their equivalent is in Green Bay's front office, that they measure, athletic traits and things like that. Obviously Anthony Belton was a huge human being. He moved well. Gutey thought, all right, that might be the guy. That might be the guy that could kind of propel us forward, whether we plan on playing him at right tackle, which they started to do. Then they try to settle him in at right guard. He struggled at all spots he played last year, I think it's safe to say. And obviously Aaron Banks, you gave a 4-year, $77 million deal to, who has struggled all year long. In year one, he battled a little bit of a back injury, if I remember correctly, multiple injuries in camp. Maybe that'll be what he needs to get on track. Or also there's a chance that they could cut loose of him, right? Now, he wasn't specifically asked whether Aaron Banks will be back. I imagine you signed someone on a 4-year deal, you're expecting them to play out at least 2 years of that deal. But it was a very, very unique deal that Aaron Banks signed, where it's really a 1 plus a 3, which is so rare, which tells me everything I need to know of whether Gutey was completely sold on Aaron Banks, right? And what it essentially means is if you move on from Aaron Banks this year, you can free up $4 million right away if you just do a pre-June 1 cut. If you go post-June 1, you're going to free up roughly $18 million, $19 million, somewhere in that ballpark, right? But you got to carry that $24.8 million cap charge until post-June, where you can cut him loose and then those funds become free. So again, that money's not going to help you immediately in free agency, but it's something long-term if you decide to move on from him. It sounds like Gutey is kind of doubling down. And again, it's early. It's very, very early. And we know it's lying season. And that's not a shot at Gutey. All the GMs do it. They will put misinformation out there. They'll mislead the media and not really show their hand in regards to what they're going to do here at the end of the day. So we'll keep our eye on whether Aaron Banks returns. Haven't seen anything on Elgton Jenkins yet, but that's just a little update there. Now, the Rich Bisaccia drama. This is really, really interesting to me. So he was asked about Rich Bisaccia. Rob Demovsky tweeted this out. Said Packers GM Brian Gutekunst said he was not expecting special teams coordinator Rich Bisaccia to leave, but said he had, quote, other opportunities he wanted to look at, end of quote. So what does that mean? And it's just really, really interesting how he put that out there, right? Rob Demovsky went on to say timing isn't ideal, but since they're not competing with other teams to hire someone, Gutekunst said they can take their time. Well, you're not competing to hire someone because everyone else has already been hired, right? Everybody's already got their special teams spot filled. Now, it doesn't mean they can't upgrade from Rich Bisaccia. It's just really strange there. When you hear that, what do you guys think in the chat? When you hear that quote, when you hear that he was not expecting Rich Bisaccia to leave, but said he had, quote, other opportunities he wanted to look at. What do you guys think that means? Do you think that Rich got tired of the negativity? Do you think Rich maybe looked at it like, you know what, I've done all I can do here. We improved the special teams. We couldn't get it as one of the top tier units, right? Obviously, but they improved under Rich, not dramatically. I feel comfortable saying that, right? But maybe he looked up and said exactly what we've been saying all along. Maybe Rich is thinking, the way this roster is built and the resources that are allocated to special teams or lack thereof, maybe the writing's on the wall for me here. Maybe I need to go somewhere else and try to get a spot, right? Maybe I'm an assistant somewhere else and then potentially step back into coaching special teams. Maybe he wants to get closer to wherever his home is. I'm not sure where that's at. Maybe he wants to go coach as an assistant somewhere else and be closer to family, be closer to friends, that type of thing. Could be. But just really, really interesting that Brian Gutekunst chose to word it like that. You guys correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but it sounds like to me, Gutey, little bit I don't know. It just seemed like there was a little shade thrown there. I could be wrong. But again, throwing that out there that, I was surprised, but he said he had other opportunities he wanted to look at. Really, really, really interesting. So we'll keep our eye on that as well. And then the more important information here at the end, and I just kind of pulled this. I've seen several people quoting it on X. Brian Gutekunst also mentioned he had to tell Micah Parsons to slow down in his rehab. Reports are both Parsons and Tucker Kraft are doing well in ACL rehab. So I think they said something about, I want to say it was Matt Schneiden maybe tweeted out too, said that he called him the no man or something like that. That was the nickname he gave Gutey because Gutey kept telling him, no, you're not allowed to do that. No, slow down on rehab. No, don't do that extra. Like, let's pace ourselves here. It sounds like Micah Parsons is way ahead of schedule, and my man is on fire to be out there for week 1 of the Green Bay Packers season. Really excited to see him back on the field. And I definitely would not rule out Tucker Kraft. I wouldn't be surprised if both of those guys are ready to go week 1. They are absolute animals. Of course, we don't want them to come back too early and it, be detrimental to their season long-term, right? So we'll keep our eye on those as well. Let's go to the chat real quick and see what's going on. Chuck Jagger says, happy Taco Tuesday, my peeps. Good to see you, Chuck. Appreciate you swinging through. Fishy Thing says, looking back, it doesn't seem as strong of an endorsement. All right, got it. Fishy Thing says, quote, we're trying to find a way to keep him on the field. He's injury prone, or he says equals, he's injury prone, so we're going to ask him to take a pay cut. Very, very interesting. Who are you guys talking about there? Is that maybe Aaron Banks? Maybe that's Aaron Banks. I'm assuming is who you guys are referring to. Chuck Jagger says the Jets offered him more money to be okay there. Not sure who that's in reference to. Trying to see. No idea. Fishy Things went on to say the Rich quotes are as mysterious as it gets. Telecasting? Maybe. It is very, very strange. Again, I don't think that's so. My point is, why even mention it, right? Hey, what did you think about Rich Bisaccia's departure? Yeah, Rich just decided he wanted to leave, and we're going to try to replace him with the best candidate possible. Move along. But to say that he wasn't expecting him to leave, and then that he had other opportunities he wanted to look at, just kind of weird, man. Really, really interesting. So let's see what Bates says in the chat. Maybe some of the noise got to Rich, and he decided it was just best for him to move on. That's the immediate thought I had, Bates. Was like, maybe he got tired of how damn loud it was. Like, man, every week we go out here and we try to put the best product on the field, given the resources we have, and I'm getting raked over the coals. And listen, I'm going to be real. I've been very vocal about this. I've been vocal about this for several years, and it's not just a Brian Gutekunst thing. Although it seems like Brian Gutekunst speaks far less than other GMs. I could be wrong there, maybe just because my eyes are on the Packers. But when you put out the youngest roster in the league, and then the team struggles, you don't ever hear from the GM. Now, they're not obligated by rule to talk as often as coaches and players, obviously, but you're kind of, hey, here's what you got to work with, special teams and the youngest roster in the league right here. There's what you got to work with. I'm not going to speak to anybody. You guys got to stand at the podium every week and answer questions on why this isn't working. I don't know, man. I just don't like it. It doesn't seem like you're leading by example with that. Now, obviously, the Packers don't want him to speak any more than he has to, so that's exactly what he's doing is the minimum requirement in terms of speaking to the media. So that's how that kind of I don't know, sits with me, I guess you could say. But I think you're on track there, Bates. It does kind of feel like maybe the noise got to him, and I don't blame him. And you want to be appreciated, right? You want to feel appreciated in any job that you do. You want to feel like, okay, this is the place where I'm supposed to be. The fans appreciate me. My colleagues appreciate me. Obviously, my pupils, i.e. the players that I'm coaching, they appreciate me. My boss appreciates me, right? And when you look up and go, man, this thing, we don't have the pieces we need. We don't have the parts we need, right? And then you struggle and the noise just all comes down on you when there's other factors that come into play in terms of the roster build and the obviously the tools that you need. It's a very, very interesting angle for sure. So that's what Gutey had to say at the combine. Not a whole lot of groundbreaking, information. However, I think it is important to just note the two things here. It sounds like, based off of what Gutey said, and again, he said the same thing about Aaron Jones very similarly, it sounds like absolutely Josh Jacobs will be a Green Bay Packer. That's great news. And then obviously he's been having to try to slow down Micah Parsons in his rehab. And it went on to say that both Micah Parsons and Tucker Kraft are well ahead of schedule with the ACL rehab. So really excited to see those guys back on the field here for 2026. I'm curious to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. How do you feel about Gutey's remarks? Are we on the same track here, on the same page with the Rich Bisaccia comment? Are we on the same page with how the offensive line's been built? Maybe you guys disagree. Let us know in the comments. Let's talk about it. Also, make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you catch all the live streams moving forward. Like any of our breaking news coverage, any of our draft coverage, we're going to be going live throughout the combine and giving you guys all the updates there in between, who's the top performers, who's not, as well as when we get into draft season, free agency, we're going to be doing live streams during those periods as well. You want to make sure you don't miss any of that content. So make sure you got that bell icon clicked. We're out of here, guys. Appreciate everybody jumping in. Smash that like button on the way out. My name's Clayton. This is PTA. Go Pack, go.
Here we go.
Bye, guys.